Hello, everyone. This is Dan, founder of Haddee Education. Today, we have invited Miss Marino, Haddee's experienced college counselor and English teacher, writing teacher. Miss Marino is also teach Harvard International for this fall to our students. Miss Marino, would you please give us a quick introduction?
Hi, my name is Ms. Gigi Marino. I have spent 25 plus years in higher education in a number of fields. I've worked closely with admissions, and right now I've been working with Haddee Education for 2 years, primarily with college admissions essays. And this year I begin as a college coach. I had great success last year with my students. They got into MIT, Cornell, University of Michigan, a number of the University of California schools, and others.
Thank you, Ms. Marino. So I would take the first 30 minutes and talk about the topic, how to stand out in college applications. Okay, I forgot. I need to translate very quickly. Let me ask, does anybody need a translation? Like, 你们这里有人一定要听中文吗？要听中文的举手，还是英文都 OK 呀？Okay. Okay. I didn't think anybody is, it's fine. I think we're fine. I'll just speak English for now. I don't have time. Okay.
丹丹老师丹丹老师可能是需要中文。
Okay. Thank you, Hannah. 那我们今天就是讲一下大学申请怎么脱颖而出。我们老师做了一个背景介绍 ，Miss Marino 她的学生2023进了 MIT、Cornell、Michigan、UC Berkeley、UC San Diego 反正一堆学校。等一下 Miss Marino 30分钟以后是她的分享，前面30分钟是我的分享那我可能会速度讲得快一点，我要讲英文和中文 ，OK？ Yeah. Let me see. Okay. So you guys can Google Haddee Education. We have over 110, 5.0 review. Thank you all Haddee parents, teachers, and students. Okay. 前面是我们的谷歌好评，大家可以去看一下 Haddee Education. This is my introduction, Dandan Pan. I just copy paste from LinkedIn. So you guys can take a look at it. So my education background is clear from the schools here, Zhejiang University, Michigan, and Cornell. And this is my work experience in high tech to 3 startups as chief growth officer, co-founder, and Haddee is my recent company. I'm the single founder. Okay. 那这是我个人的介绍，你们到英领去看一下我的教学背景，从浙大到密西根大学到康奈尔。那我原来是在美国高通做管理的，开过3家的联合创始人和这个单独创始人。Okay, thank you. So first, some facts about college admission. It is getting really, really hard. Okay, so this is our public school, one public school I pulled out in Southern California. And actually, it's my son's school. And the UC Berkeley acceptance rates dropped close to 70%. This is 2019. 100 got in, okay? And okay, yeah. So 300 applied, 100 got in. And 2022, 350 applied, 36 got in. It is skydiving, okay? By almost 70%. This is a public data. Everybody oh, I forgot to put link. I will put a link as where you can find UC acceptance rates by California schools. Okay. 这个信息大家都知道，从2019到2022，加州大学特别好的那个公立学校，像 UC 伯克利的录取率，从就是某一个高中。从30%的录取率降到10%左右，就是降了70%左右。这个大家都知道的啊。现在越来越难了，上好的学校。Okay, this is another facts. For past 10 years, the Brown acceptance rates. So you can see early, it's from almost like 20%. to 12, about 50, whatever, not cutting half, but maybe by 30%, 40%, okay? Regular from 6 to 3, that's cut into half, okay? 那这是布朗大学过去10年的早生18、20左右到12%，那但是的正常申请就是一半，从6.8将近7到3.88。So this is my alma mater, Cornell. Cornell's they don't want to publish data anymore. It's really sad. Okay, it's the largest public school. It's considered the easiest to get in, the most difficult to get out. Okay, and of course the early decision is about 20-30%. From 30 to 20, but the regular decision 15. Close to 6. That's very, very, it's skydiving, nosediving, just like the UC Berkeley to some large public schools in California. Actually, I was sitting on the local board for Cornell in San Diego, alumni, and the data is reviewed in San Diego is like 5%, even, 20% something below the national average, okay? 那这个是我的母校康奈尔大学，过去10年，但是最近2年，他们已经决定，不分享这个录取数据了，也非常悲惨。OK， 基本上这个正常申请从15%降到6%左右，就是跟前面的这个公立学校进 UC Berkeley 一样，降了60%到70%，就是越来越难了。Okay, so we talk about some facts. I'm going to share with you another fact is all top schools, selective schools, use holistic approach. So what is holistic approach? Okay, so internally each school, college has a selection system mainly based on these factors: academics, extracurricular, and personal quality. Okay, so what is academics? Course rigor with the RAM. Okay, sorry, misspelling. Offered, Miss Marino won't be happy with my English here. With the RAM offered by your high school, plus standardized testing. However, a lot of standardized testing is blind or optional. Some still required. 那首先我想讲一下这个另外一个事实，就是所有的美国名校、美本名校都是用全方位的，我也不知道怎么翻译，就是全方位的这个招生方式。那每个学校呢，他们自己内部都有个系统的，那个系统呢，他们都是给学生打分的，那分成几类，主要是几大类，每个学校名字换汤不换药。那第一类呢，就是学术 academic， 就是孩子的成绩。OK， 这个成绩呢 ，not only 是成绩单，你考了 A 97分、98分，还是说你选课的难度？这个选课难度只是在你的学校的这个相对之下，所以讲来讲去，其实整个制度是有一点内卷的。如果你这个学校 offer 20门 AP， 如果你只 take 2门，那你的这个课程难度是不够的。OK， 我们下面会再详细讲一下。So next one is extracurricular activities， 就是课外活动 ，OK？ 那当然课外活动就有各种各样的啊，我待会儿再解释。还有一个就是 personal quality、letter rank、intellectual curiosity， 每个学校不一样的，所以就是整个 selective school、holistic、public or private， 它都是分几大类的 ，OK？那这个就是这个课外活动 ，OK， 有各种各样的课外活动，还有这个最悬的就是个人的这个素质，或者是推荐性，或者是 intellectual curiosity， 就是好奇心，但是对知识欲望的这个好奇心 ，OK， 那我下面会具体再解释。那这个3大类呢，反映到各个学校呢，他们名字的叫法不一样。So Harvard got sued，OK？So Harvard saying academic achievement, extracurricular, personal qualities, athletic abilities, plus an overall score takes all the factors into account. OK， 哈佛呢，这个大家都知道，如果跟踪哈佛这个官司，大家都知道，一个是学术的成功 achievement， 课外活动，个人的素质和个性 怎么翻译 ？OK， 当然每个学校都要招生体育的，这个我们完全可以理解，因为体育也是帮学校挣钱的嘛，就是还有加总的这个打分 ，OK， so personal category includes everything from essays to alumni interviews， 这里是最玄乎的了，就是这个哈佛的这个官司我就不具体讲了，大家跟的都知道了，这也造成了这个也是一个导火线，造成这个 affirmative action 的 change by 这个 Supreme Court。OK，Miss Marino will get into more details。OK， 那在 Emory 是个小的私立学校，也是很有名的 top tier 的，那他们怎么叫呢？这个中文的这个学校的翻译 Emory 我就不知道怎么翻了，反正大家都知道 ，OK， 是在 Georgia 的 ，OK， 它的这个 category 呢是 High School Curriculum。Extracurricular activity, recommendation, and intellectual curiosity， 就是成绩、课外活动、推荐性加这个好奇心、知识欲望的求知欲。OK， so more facts. Admissions, all they about is they have a goal. The department has a goal under admission dean in each college, have a goal to fill each freshman class.And they have a number they need to meet, okay? And don't quote me down. I think Cornell freshman is like over 3,000 something, and Harvard probably is half, okay? 那个数字你们自己去确认一下，就是每一届的学生招生，他们这个招生办，就中国讲招生办，大学招生办，他们都是有一个目的的，他们要把这个名额招满 ，OK？ So how they do it?College admission is about getting a class together that has balanced talents, skills, and backgrounds, okay? As athletes, musicians, okay? 体育就不讲了，音乐就是不是说音乐家，就是擅长音乐的学生。那我跟几个 Harvard 的这擅长音乐的学生合作过，他们帮我们做过这个歌曲的英文歌曲的录像。那Oh, sorry. 但是他们的 major 像 history major, bio major, etc. 他们都是有 music talents, OK? 每个学校需要乐队，对吧？Artist 艺术家又回到 Harvard. Because I had a lot of experience with Harvard students. 因为我 hire quite a few Harvard students work with us, OK? 那这个 Harvard students 呢，有一个学生 got in. I was looking for a video that she was giving a talk. 她所有的all the Ivy League rejected her that year, but got into Harvard because she had theater performance talents. And Harvard that year was forming a theater program. So she said she got lucky. She did not get into Cornell. All the schools rejected or waitlisted did not get in, basically. Only got into Harvard because that program, it's a talent balance. 那做艺术的，我们有一个学生，是帮我们做过分享的。他呢进了哈佛，是因为他有戏剧表演的天才。那一年他被所有的藤都拒了，只有哈佛录取他了，因为那一年哈佛要找一个新的一个艺术的一个项目 ，OK？ STEM majors, of course, we all need STEM majors, right? Computer science, bio, etc. 还有这个理工的专业、人文的专业 humanities majors, and 我开玩笑 chef 厨师 chef because my older son really good at cooking. 厨师 he got into Berkeley and many other top schools, almost got into Stanford. I was joking, 就是 whether you can, cook your cooking skill get into your top schools, OK? 那就是厨艺，我这是开玩笑，也不是开玩笑，可能也有点真的。我写过一棵小红书，就是靠吃饭进名校，结果我被加州大公校的这个群帮我分享的群的家长被赶出来了，说我是对他们的孩子的劳动成果不尊重。那你们现在就可以知道了，为什么？因为也许是对的，因为他确实会做饭，他们需要一些不同的 talent, they need different talents, OK? 这个孩子确实在 Berkeley 的 local 的餐馆休学一个学期，在餐馆做小厨的 OK? And Berkeley needs kids. A lot of restaurants needs chefs these days. 加州缺人工 Okay, joking. So they're looking for folks from various states and international students. Okay, absolutely international. You guys don't need to worry. American universities want you. They want the diversity and interesting backgrounds. Cornell pretty much admits every students from every single state. I think about a couple years ago, sitting on the board, we had a meeting, maybe except for one state, okay? 那就是从各个州、各个国家，所以国际学生你们不用担心。康奈尔大学它是从每个州都招的，我有一年在 board meeting 只有一个州没有招 ，OK？ 那当然国际学生的比例是蛮高的，有的学校高达20%，有的学校差不多10%。minimum 国际学生很多学校好的都是至少10%。They need you. It's America. It's a country of immigrants. So don't worry, you're international students, OK? 所以不用担心你是留学生，美国要你的 ，OK？ They don't want to be called, American universities do not want to be called snobs, and they need spend the money donated by alumni by financial aid. They must include economically disadvantaged students. Ivy League does not offer merit-based scholarships, OK? 那这句话就很简单了。美国的大学他们不想觉得给人家感觉很势利，都是招有钱的学生。我们校有大量的给母校捐钱，这些钱都是用在 financial aid 助学金，这个助学金是要花掉的，就像你融资公司，你钱拿了要花掉的。Same for school， 这些钱花在哪里呢？是花在穷的这个就是贫穷阶级吧，贫穷学生就这么简单。OK，yeah，and 藤校是没有奖学金的。They only offer 助学金，所以他一定会招一些家庭贫困的学生的，每年给全奖 OK， 我们今年有好几个学生去 Cornell 的就是拿的 free ride， 我也分享过了，在 financial aid， 在公立学校没有拿多少，但 Cornell 给了 free ride OK， It's a little bit of a challenge for me to switch between two languages. Okay, so I'm trying my best. So they want the students whose parents are not only engineers, but also restaurant workers. They want the kids whose parents are PhDs, as well parents never went to colleges. First generation does have advantages for selected schools and for all schools, OK? 那他们要的父母的背景也是不一样，不仅是工程师、博士生，他们也要招从餐馆过来的，或者是爸爸妈妈没有上过大学的。那我想你们对那个 Mark Zuckerberg Facebook 的这个他们夫妻都是 Harvard， 当然 Mark 没有毕业 Zuckerberg 没有毕业他的太太就是 coming from restaurant family background. I believe she was a first generation students, I believe. Okay, you can double check, okay? They want the kids who have ADHD, autism, other health challenging kids, neurodisadvantaged, kids with disability. 他们也会招一些学生有 ADHD 小儿孤僻症这个是这个残疾人 OK 肯定的要招的they need to report to the admission dean and trustees. Each class is consist of and ensure the class has a successful graduation rate. OK 他们要汇报给他们的老板和老大 trustees。每一届的新生，这些新生他们是有一个比例一定要毕业的，所以不管你是 ADHD, autism, coming from first generation background, 你要有能力在这个学校毕业的，所以 you gonna have some competence. I will go through about the competence. 这些学生没有问题的，他们都能毕业的，因为这些学校招生已经，他们看很多数据已经招了很多年了 OK, pretty much they're very, very successful in getting that class together. Holistic approach is hard on parents, but it's also hard on admission officers. They do not want to be sued. Colleges 这个全方位的这个招生的这个方式，对家长和学生来说非常难，但对学校也很难，因为他们也很小心，他们也不想吃官司。Okay. So next, some facts. Look at my watch, okay? Okay. Oh my gosh. I don't think I can finish in 30 minutes, Miss Marino. Give me a few minutes. Okay. And some facts. From holistic to mystic. 那如果全方位的话，就是有的时候就变成了玄学。Please remember, each school is looking for a human being through the lens of stack of files and time to look at the files. It's about 8 minutes or less. With this human being, will this human being or student fit into our college community, succeed through our academic rigor, and contribute to our community? 所以呢，就是说是全方位的，对家长来说，学生来说，就是说啊，我成绩这么好，为什么我没进去？就变成玄学了，没有标准，标准太多就是没有标准。那招生呢，就是讲的很简单，看穿了，就是一堆文件，现在都是 digital。然后呢，就是差不多8分钟，最多8分钟时间。那这8分钟不是我 make up。In 2018 Wall Street 这个 link 上面你去看一下，是在上面登出来的美国的 top 学校，他们看那个 applicants 就是 spend less than 8 minutes. It's really sad, okay? 因为我们的学生 we are students work so hard, and our counselors, our teachers, our parents, okay? 那这个 file reflect 刚才讲的，就是一个成绩单 ，course rigor with great grades, get in, not get in 就是。One factor， 这是很重要的，是个必要条件 ，OK？ High testing scores， maybe not， 因为有的学校是 optional 的 ，OK？ 当然，你如果考得很高，你递交没有任何问题，这是非常重要的。我跟所有的家长讲 ，extracurricular activities with in-depth experience， 你们做的活动不一定说，当然时间长是一个很好的这个 indicator for in-depth。But your students must enjoy it, really learn from it, and can talk about it. It's in depth, not just doing it for the sake of resume. 其实就3点。那这个3点反映在什么呢？其实就是 core characters. Most selective schools are looking for. 他们看一些个性。那是什么个性呢？ Core characters. I will go through here. Okay? So here's I'm not going to translate. Okay? 5.Number 1, competence, not just competitions. Okay, so 这个能力是体现在什么上面呢 Okay, you can see course rigor. Students, you need to challenge yourself. Take difficult classes offered by your school, but not fail on it. If you have to get, like, if you taking really, really hard course and you're getting a C, not worth it. So how you balance it, okay? That's a trick. So the first 2 weeks, you will know it's good. I really enjoy it. I can at least make a B or even A. But you're really struggling it because your parents want you to take it, because pressure you want to take it, and you're failing it. You're more stressful. Do not do it, okay? 所以就是这个成绩的这个 rigor， 就是这个难度。就是跟你学校的这个课程的难度，因为大学的好的学校的课程是非常难的 ，UC Berkeley、Cornell、CMU、MIT、Stanford 这些课都不好读的 ，OK？ 所以这个 course rigor 你怎么平衡，其实是个 art and science，OK？Upward mobility， 你的成绩单最好是11年级比11's better than 10's, they're better than 9。And I tell you why. Colleges forgive you if you got a B or even a C in 9th grader. Some schools don't look at 9th grade, like UCs. And I remember I need to go back to see whether schools like Emory look at 9th. Maybe not, but quite a few private schools, they do look at 9th. But they put more weight on the 11th because they think you're not mature enough when you enter 9th grade.One fact, teenagers' brain development, mental development, every month, it's like a year to adults. You are still developing. 那个是那个增长的趋势，就是大学呢，它把的这个成绩的这个分量会11年级比10年级更重要，10年级比9年级更重要。那这个我就很简单的讲两个例子。我儿子的成绩，他是进 UC Berkeley Computer Science， 九年级4个 B，10年级4个 B，11年级全 A。那进了以后，当然他 take 很难的 class，12年级很难的 class， 他 take 了16门 AP，something like that，it's crazy。那但是他12年级没有拿到 A， 但是 B 也是 OK 了。那前面8个 B 的这个 weight not as heavy as 11，11年级他拿了全 A。然后呢，他有一个学弟，这个学弟呢是我老二的朋友，经常到我家来吃饭的。他就知道这个故事，因为我经常会给他洗脑，他有不少 B， 他就在9年级、10年级，他沮丧，我说没问题的，没问题的，没问题的。你看看那个哥哥也是都进了很好的学校，那这个孩子也11年级全是 A， 最后他进了 UC San Diego 的 Computer Science， 爸爸妈妈和他都是非常满意。OK，so remember。Do not get stressed out if you just get a couple of B's here and there. But try your best for the 11th grade. But even you get a B, it's not the end of the world, okay? Because you're taking a difficult course load, okay? SAT and ACT is important if your grades have drawbacks, but not as important as your grades. Just let you know, okay? Yeah, because a lot of schools test optional text blind. Yeah, of course, if you do really good, if your grades are really not good, like we have students, 他们的成绩单不好，weighted GPA unweighted 3.5，但他的 SAT 是1500，那这个学校就知道他有学习能力了，也把他录取了，他进了 NYU. Okay, yeah, and during enrollment, I'm just telling you all this really interesting words. During enrollment. What is dual enrollment? You enroll in your high school and you take classes outside your high school. There are dual aspects. If you enroll a very challenging classes like discrete math in UCSD, in Cal State or community college, yes, that really help you, your dual enrollment. However, if you spend $5,000, take an AP US history, some private schools just to get away the difficult course load offered by your high school, that your AP US history get an A. That A is not as worth the value as you were getting it into a really good public high school, because that high school already established a profile among all top colleges. San Diego, one public school, really good, 1 year, 12 MITs, okay? And you don't take AP US history there, you go out, offered by private school paying $4,000, $5,000, really not good. So some parents ask the kids, okay, we just get an A and we can take it in the summer. Spending money and spending a valuable summer in the 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, take an AP class in a small private school, no name, and there's a name, but not those elite good public school or elite private school, and use the money to buy the grades, it's not worth it your time. OK， 我就跟你们讲 dual enrollment， 就是说你在自己的高中上，也在外面上，它这个有2是双刃剑。如果你上特别难的数学课，在大学里也是对你有帮助的。但是你用花钱到外面去买这个 AP 的，因为你在学校里的 AP 老师好像不是很好，或者给分给低啊，什么什么的，特别难啊。你跑到外面去花钱买，花个4-5千块钱，花一个暑假去学 ，not worth it。我就这样跟你讲 ，completely not worth it. Don't do it. Okay? Of course, competence, communication. You write well and talk well. Competitions. Do well in a key competition over a period of time, okay? Many kids who got into top college do not do competitions. They don't do competitions, okay? So don't be sold by all this, private counseling companies. Oh, you must do competition and this, everybody's spending, parents enroll this, enroll that. First, if you're not interested, your interest in math or in something will be just like done. You're done with it. You're not interested in math anymore. If your parents put into competition that you're not passionate about it. If you're really good, go for it. No problem. You do it. Truly, you're interested. And it's that worth your time. Don't suffer through. OK, 我就跟你说，我是 UC Berkeley 家长群的群主，我们家也经常来往往，经常开 party， 跟家长聚会。我问过很多家长，他们很多孩子都没有参加过 competition。OK。 那我这个 YouTube 上面问了我们2023的，我去年2022都是很好的学校，很多孩子都没有参加 competition. So don't be led by competition. Focus on competence, not competitions. If you can do it, can really be good at it, enjoy it, go for it. Okay? 那 curiosity, intellectual curiosity, 这是好奇心。Okay? Intellectual curiosity is a category. Schools like Stanford, Emory, and many others would rate your student. Intellectual curiosity is a genuine interest, strong desire to learn, to be fascinated about world complexity, and to seek problem. 那我就解释一下，我强调一下，这个求知欲是真诚的，不是有功利性的，不是要微进大学的，不是你爸爸妈妈逼着你做的，就是你对有这个世界感兴趣，你对一个知识点或者一个领域很感兴趣。Schools like students who have intellectual curiosity. If you're a hardcore STEM major, for example, you take AP literature and get really well, and you get a great letter of rec from your teacher, actually that demonstrate your intellectual curiosity. OK? 就是如果你 STEM 的学生，你对 AP 这个文学就是不是为了成绩而成绩，非常感兴趣，你们老师也觉得你非常感兴趣，给你写份很好的推荐信 ，That's really good. OK? 那像学语言，这个在上面也有的 Berkeley CS student learning Japanese， 他就是 just be interested in fascinated about language, not about anything else。你可以去看一下 ，OK， 这个录像。我有康奈尔学生，我是做面试的，在 local San Diego 有个亚裔的男孩，前2年进了康奈尔，因为他对昆虫非常感兴趣。When she was interviewing me, was just talking about the insects, just interested in the insects. That's what the school wanted, and intellectual curiosity. Okay, I know about a student got into Stanford. 他没有去上那些 top AP. Instead, he chose a class, American woman author, that demonstrate his intellectual curiosity. Stanford is very into intellectual curiosity. 你们想进斯坦福的话，斯坦福是非常强调好奇心、求知欲望。And we have also our counselor publishing a blog of our top college essays. One of them is Harvard Computer Science, and that student trying to use computer science to solve the problem he's facing to play Swedish death metal, and that's intellectual curiosity. 下面最后一个链接就是我们老师的学生，有些学生的文书都是名校嘛，因为大家很多家长都是关心名校嘛。其实我们收所有的学生 ，OK， 所以我这里再重新讲述 ，Parton 不 Parton Community College 我们都收的，有录像的，前面有个录像是我们 Community College 转学 ，Miss Marino 的 student 转学到 UC San Diego， 我们全部收的 ，OK， 呀、yeah 。但是因为大家都很关心名校，所以我们用名校来做个例子。It's not about 我们觉得 life is all about 名校。We support all students， 我们支持所有的学生 ，treat all the students the same。OK， 这就很快了。这个 Dr. Kleinrock UCLA 大教授，我们跟他个人朋友在北京，这里面有篇文章我就不过了啊，你们可以看一下，他是这个 Internet 的鼻祖，他写了第一个 First email from UCLA to Stanford。SR back in 1968. Okay, go. So next one, community. So what does community means? Means collaboration, contribution, and leadership. So each college is a community, okay? No one can succeed just by yourself. And they want you to be part of the community. When we interview, I do alumni interview, we often ask, how do you contribute to the Cornell community? That's I usually ask. And students usually think about it. Your contribution to your future colleges is predicted based on contribution to your current community, your high school or surrounding community. 就像股票一样的，我们用原来的股价来估值以后的，就是 predict 今后的这个行为。所以这个你对你自己学校的贡献，你 surrounding the community 贡献 will predict your contribution to the future community. It's a very, very important character, a care about your community. 因为 this allows all these derivative characters surrounding the sense of community, okay? So contribution You need willingness to give your time to help others, not just me. My college, my school, my job, not just because we need to help each other. And I don't need to repeat that, okay? Leadership is within the realm of the community. When you work with others, you take initiative. Initiative, it's the foundation for leadership. Many of us leading by influence, not leading by title. 假如说，哎呀，我这么小，我怎么去领导？我怎么去展示我的领导能力？你要这个领导，就是说有自主能力才有领导能力。OK 呀，那个贡献我就不用说了。And how this community is reflected by college piece of file, reflected from your teachers' letter of rec, your extracurricular, and your essays. It's very important. All these things will show your sense of community. Confidence, okay? I think this is the last one. Very important. And you're competent and you're a community player, okay? But you need to be confident, okay? 我就说，如果你很有能力，你也是有团队精神，但是你需要有自信。我呢，今天跟一个年轻的家长说，他说：“哎呀，申请美本还早呢，我孩子很小。”我说：“你一定要上来听听。”我说：“里面有一点对你小孩的家长非常重要，就是这个 slides. I'm going to tell you. Many kids did a lot. They still feel so bad that they did not do enough when they write college essays. It's very sad. 他们有很多自卑感，他们经常 they are compared with their peers at home, at school, all the time. As parents, you cannot control what is being talked about at school, but you can control what's being talked about at dinner table. Do not compare your kids with others. Do not push them down and tell them they're not good enough. Love them unconditionally to build their confidence since they're born. Okay.这张 slide 对所有的家长来说非常重要，特别是年轻的家长或者 to be parent。孩子一出生 ，you must love them unconditionally to build their confidence。到 teenage 的时候，有的时候真是太晚了。我们有些学生因为在家里的被家长的压力，跟我们 review counselor 说这个也不行，那个也不行，我这个也，哎呀，这个我 I didn't do anything, I feel so bad. My parents constantly compare. Okay, so I tell all the parents.Whatever you take away, 今天的 this is the most important slide you take away. Love your students unconditionally. That's the successful road to selective colleges, okay? Confidence is reflected in essay writing as well as college interviews. It's extremely important, okay? Here, I'm sharing with you 小红书，我小红书有些title about Ivy League. I have 40,000 views, but this one is very sad. It's the most important write-up that I ever did in my life, but very few reviews. And I hit the link, and this is the title. 是谁拯救了被家暴的我？我就不剧透了。如果你们没有去看过，一定要去看一下我的小红书。For the parents who read Chinese, okay? Oh, last one.Compassion in addition to passion, okay? College do not want to admit arrogant kids, okay? They are looking for students who not only care about themselves, but also care about others, okay? 美本他不想录非常骄傲的孩子，他希望这个孩子不仅关心他们自己，关心别人。那我 very simple example about compassion. 有些 parents 来，他肯定一句话。哦，我们家不想跟比我水平差的孩子学不到东西，要比我水平高的。Often ask they don't want their kids to learn with the kids. They're worse. They're the academic not as strong as them, and this is not a reflect of compassion. If you are compassionate, have your kids help the kids. They're not good as your kids.And helping will help your kids reinforce what they have learned and will teach them about compassion. Compassion is a deep and genuine feeling of sympathy, empathy, and a concern for the suffering, for the pain, for distress, and disadvantaged groups for others, okay? And compassion most reflected in your behavior students' behavior and into essays and letter of rec。那我就这里讲一下 ，OK， 我就不翻译了，这个反正你们大家都去看一下吧，那个到时候去百度翻译一下，我会把 PDF 全部发出来的。我的孩子在一家一家机构做 TA 做了很多年，他的那个老板给他写了一份非常好的推荐信，我们都没有看过，但是这个老板说 I wrote your son an awesome letter of rec because my son loves teaching little kids, okay? That's a sense of compassion. 那他的文书在这里，你们可以看一下他的 UC 文书 ，OK？ 作为 TA 的 ，it's a reflect of our compassion and also community. It's very well written, OK？ 好了，我这就不讲了。We can shape your students' characters, strive for high goals. 你们家长过来问我，哎呀，你怎么帮我？有这个问题问，很多是 programmatic， 很多是细节的问题。我就一句话，我们的老师能够帮你们的孩子 shape the characters in the realm of 5 C's. We're going to focus on 5 C's and strive for high goals. 那我就不过了，我们整个 full college 的 counseling service all here. It's all one-on-one. If you're Miss Marino student, Miss Marino will help you from the beginning to the graduation year. And your students also can do intern with us in certain area with our company, even after your students go to college, also before your students go to college. Okay, there are a lot of details, no limit number of college schools, summer programs, etc. OK， 下校，这是我们的这个申请单，网上都有，不过了。OK， 基本上反正你们想要的学校，我们基本上都能帮孩子们。都有帮孩子们搞进去，这是我们的private school 美高 and the medical school as well. OK， 好的 ，Yeah， 这是我们公司的。OK， I think I'm well over time, Miss Marino. You're gonna kill me by 13 minutes. OK, and I'm gonna go here, show Miss Marino. OK.
Okay. Yeah, so we're starting to talk about affirmative action. The end of affirmative action happened this summer at the end of June, specifically what it means for college essays. I have given you a fairly detailed history here. Next slide, please. And you can look at the timeline. Can you change it, Dandan?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, there you go. So really, affirmative action in the United States started in 1961, which was 62 years ago with JFK. And the important years with affirmative action actually are 1978, which is the Bakke decision, which we're going to hear about in a video from the Wall Street Journal. And then the decision this summer with the overturn of affirmative action. And let's just go to that slide, Dan. Save time. Because you'll have access to these slides afterwards, so you can look at them. Did you want to translate into Chinese? No, okay. Let's just play the video then.
Okay.
It gives you a really good background.
This one?
Yeah.
How do I play?
Colleges have taken different approaches towards admissions to make their campuses more diverse. Considering an applicant's race, generally called affirmative action, has long been standard at universities from Upenn to Harvard, but not anymore. The Supreme Court has ruled that no college in the US can consider an applicant's race in admissions. 9 states have already banned this practice. California did almost 25 years ago. Just enough time for a detailed study on its consequences.
Once you have the data set in hand, there's an awful lot you can learn, honestly, pretty quickly, right? Basically, what I'm doing is just differences in means. What happened to the kids after 98? What happened to the kids before 98? Just those comparisons tell you an awful lot about not just what happened in California, but I think what we can expect to happen across the country.
Here's how affirmative action changed college admissions and what the future of higher education might look like without it. Before affirmative action, selecting which of these student applicants would be accepted was fairly simple. Most colleges would essentially filter students. They'd set factors like a minimum GPA or a minimum test score, and voila, there's your pool of accepted students. Obviously, the more selective the school, the higher those standards were. But
a big part of both test scores and grades are pre-18 educational investment and honestly non-educational investment, the degree to which you had a stable household, the degree to which you had some notion of being able to focus on your work. The better a high school you go to, the better the test score you get. The better sort of access to resources outside of high school, like tutoring or other services that you had access to before 18, the better you test.
It's clear if you break down SAT scores by the background of the student. Students from higher income households score higher. Same if you look at who grew up in a household with a parent with a graduate degree versus no degree. That also reflects in race, with Black and Hispanic students scoring lower than white and Asian students. So in the 1970s, when UC Berkeley's admissions really just looked at GPA and test scores, the student population was less than 5% Black and Hispanic.
Students who might have been really high ability just weren't able to get the kind of education that would lead them to the kind of high standardized test that would get them into a school like Berkeley. These schools recognized that they needed some way of admitting those students, and so they started affirmative action policies to try to bring in students from sort of every part of, in this case, the state of California.
So in the 80s, they began considering race in their admissions decisions. It worked. By the 90s, they would chart students on a social diversity index. If you were low income and a minority and had moderate grades and test scores, you were in. If you were high income and white, you needed higher scores to get in. Some colleges, like the UC Davis School of Medicine, used quotas, utilizing a similar filtering system, but a few spots would be reserved for minority applicants. In the late 70s, a white student named Backey fell here, not good enough to get in among other white applicants, but with higher test scores and GPA than the minority students who got in. He sued, claiming discrimination. It made it to the Supreme Court, he won, and was admitted. The court ruled that while the goal of achieving a diverse student body is sufficiently compelling to justify consideration of race in admissions decisions, specific quotas went too far. More than 24 Supreme Court cases have followed, including the landmark Grutter v. Bollinger in 2003, which upheld that race could be considered as part of a highly individualized, holistic review of each applicant's file. That's essentially how affirmative action has worked the last 20 years. Instead of just filtering a pool of applicants, most colleges look at each person individually. Like Harvard will look at SAT and GPA, but also things like extracurricular activities, essays, awards, life experiences, recommendations, leadership, and yes, race. But this is exactly what the Supreme Court has now struck down. In two separate cases against Harvard and the University of North Carolina, plaintiffs argued this holistic approach was just a cover for discrimination against white and Asian students. The Supreme Court agreed, ruling that eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. The student must be treated based on his or her experiences as an individual, not on the basis of race. Many universities have for too long done just the opposite, which means in this holistic review, race can no longer be considered.
To the degree that these universities want to maintain their current level of racial diversity, California has shown that that is infeasible, at least given the policies that California has tried to implement.
In the 90s, Californians voted for Proposition 209, which banned public universities from considering race. Zach Bleemer conducted a massive study in California, following students that applied before and after Prop 209. Looking at where they eventually enrolled, graduated, and then at their wage statements.
So you can see, so long as they stay in the state of California, where they work and how much they earn all the way through 2020, 25 years almost after the affirmative action ban was implemented.
What he found was that Black and Hispanic enrollments at more selective schools like Berkeley dramatically fell when they couldn't include race in their admissions process. Moderately selective schools had almost no change, but enrollment at less selective schools actually rose because most Black and Hispanic students didn't not go to college. They just went to less esteemed ones.
You got this cascade effect of Black and Hispanic students on average enrolling at a university that's just a little bit less selective than the universities they used to have access to. Kids who used to go to Berkeley are now going to UC Davis. Kids who used to go to UC Davis are now going to UC Santa Cruz. What happened is pretty substantial negative ramifications for these students.
They became less likely to earn STEM degrees, less likely to go to graduate school. Those with the lowest GPA and test scores became less likely to even graduate. And overall, Black and Hispanic students earned less in their careers than those admitted before Prop 209.
One thing we've learned from affirmative action bans is that the kids who are admitted to more selective universities as a result of race-based affirmative action tend to receive greater value from those institutions in terms of the degree to which those institutions lead them to more successful jobs or more success generally in the labor market than the white or Asian students who tend to take their places after the end of affirmative action programs.
Bleemer has also studied the effects of what's called race-neutral admissions policies, which can include outreach and income-based admissions, as has Georgetown University. They both found the same result.
It seems like all of these race-neutral alternatives that universities can implement have a tendency toward increasing the diversity of campuses, but they don't get you anywhere close to the level of racial diversity that's provided by race-based affirmative action.
Harvard said if it were to not include race in their holistic review, Black and Hispanic enrollment will decline by almost half. Berkeley, even though it has made strides since Prop 209 to enroll more Hispanic students, the Black student population is still below where it was when it could consider race in admissions.
I think we'll see declines in Black and Hispanic enrollment, potentially in some cases quite severe declines in the next couple of years. And as a result, you're going to have this sort of downward shift, Black and Hispanic students enrolling in less selective schools than they had access to previously. There's no clear silver bullet for such universities just to maintain diversity as it is right now.
Okay, great. Dan, you can go back to the PowerPoint.
Now, affirmative action, as we is about to die. And guess what, Asian Americans? We could be the ones who killed it. And it is going down in federal court.
That
right
was another
now.
video that just.
That's my video. Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Sorry about that. No, that's
no. Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Okay. Is this slide? Yeah, this slide. Yeah.
Okay.
We're
back to.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the important takeaways from this Supreme Court decision, according to the Chief Justice Roberts, nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise. Universities may not simply establish through college essays or other means the regime we hold unlawful today, and a benefit to a student who overcame racial discrimination, for example, must be tied to that student's courage and determination, or a benefit whose heritage or cultural motivated him or her to assume a leadership role or attain a particular goal must be tied to that student's unique ability to contribute to the university. In other words, the student must be treated on his or her experiences as an individual, not on the basis of race. So what does that mean when it comes to talking about college essays? So a number of universities have responded rather vocally. You can read their specific responses in the slides. But basically, the bottom line for this is that universities and colleges really care about creating a diverse student body, and they do care about continuing that because they believe it is good not only for the student, but for the university. Next slide. So we're going to talk about the Common App. The Common Application. This is something that's only used by 25% of the schools in the United States. Some of the changes have been pretty minimal, meaning that after the ban this summer, the Common App removed the option for students to write about their race or ethnicity in the additional information section. But really, they did not change their questions or their prompts from 2022 to 23. And actually, they've been the same for the past couple of years because of the pandemic. So the big takeaway from this is that the college app has said you cannot use race-based decisions in your application process. I'm sure that many of you have seen these prompts before in the past. There are 7 of them. The most important one in reference to the conversation that we're having today is number 1. Some students have a background, identity, and the word identity is important here because it usually has to do with your ethnic identity, interest or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. And I can tell you from my experience of dealing with a number of both first-generation American students and then also students who are not just first generation, but they're coming from another country. I work primarily with Chinese students and Brazilian students, and I would say that about 80% of them have either come from China or Brazil, and they include those experiences in the essays that they're writing because they're very important to their identity. And they're also important to what Dandan was talking about with community. Very important subjects for us to broach in the admissions essay. Next slide, please. So really, here are the big takeaways for students and their family. As I said before, colleges value diversity. It's an important factor. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling this summer, students can still write about race in their essay. There is nothing stopping students from writing about it because really the responsibility falls on the college or university not to use race-based admissions criteria. Next slide, please. So what does this mean for us, right? We're talking about the admissions essay. So these are some general hints that are really good to follow, things that I believe in. Focusing on the unique perspective and experience of that one particular student. And when I talk to students, I always tell them to tell me about something they learned. And we then use that learning in their essay and how did they get to that point where they learned something important and what does that say about them as an individual. Right, next, specific and concrete, right? Especially if you want to write about your race or ethnicity, don't just tell the admissions committee that you're a diverse student. Show them in a very meaningful way. I've had students write about food. I've had students write about family rituals, different experiences. And so that storytelling is a very important point. Then the last thing, and this is the most important thing to me, is authenticity. Because as Dan mentioned earlier, what the admissions community really wants, the admissions committee really wants to know is whether or not your student is going to be a good member of the community. And that is so important. And just being real is really important. So we want to get to know who you are in your essay. I had a beautiful essay the other day. A student was writing about having actually become silent, wasn't able to speak because she had a stutter. And she went to a school that really valued how people looked. It was very status driven. And so she had to take special classes to get over her stutter. It stigmatized her. She got to the point where she just stopped talking for years. And then she finally went to a new school where the community embraced her and she came out of her shell and she started speaking again. And it was so beautiful and so heartfelt. And it brought me to tears. And I'm sure that the person who reads it is going to be brought to tears. But those real and genuine stories are the things that people want to hear. Next slide, please. I gave a list here of articles. There's been an awful lot written in the past few months. This Supreme Court hearing is brand new. This is an annotated list. If you want to go back and read some of these articles, they're very interesting. They come from different points of view, but Dan will post this for you. Next slide, please. And now I brought us to questions. I think I kept it under 15 minutes.
You did much better than me. So thank you. Okay, so we're going to open up questions. Okay, we have some. A question here is, okay, first, is it useful to self-study and go for an AP exam if the AP course is not offered in day school? Ms. Marino, do you want to take that question?
Yes, absolutely. As Dan had said before, this is a holistic approach. And so what the schools are looking at is the student motivated? Do they have the wherewithal to seek out information, even if it's not offered to them? The intellectual curiosity is very important. So yes, the answer to that question is yes.
Thank you.
And then I see another question here about UC continuing diversity. Yes. Is it legal? Yes, absolutely, it's legal. Pushing diversity is not illegal. What the Supreme Court has said is illegal is using race as a criteria for admitting students. So they can't use race anymore, but you certainly can write about it in your admissions essay. And I gave you that list of articles to look at, and a number of those schools are saying, yes, we really do care about diversity. And schools don't care about diversity just because it's the popular thing to do, but because we live in a global society, and global communication and cooperation are the keys to our surviving as a human species. So yes, that's why it's important. We all need each other.
Thank you, Ms. Marino. Okay. Any questions, guys? If you're not, how important is to have a major and align your course and extracurriculars with that major, Ms. Marino? Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is right now, because you certainly are going to change, and you change by leaps and bounds, between the time that you're, say if you start thinking about this when you're 14 years old, between 14 and 18, you're a completely different person. Some people are very linear and they go along one particular path and they say, this is what I know that I want to be for the rest of my life. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with having options and going down different paths, going down different rabbit holes even, and looking at things that engage your curiosity, engage your passion. Lots of times when I am working with students with their essays, they try very hard to connect the content of their essay with their major that they want to have. And I tell them, only do it if it makes sense with the story that you're telling, but it's not necessary. Again, I keep going back to the university wants to know if you're going to be a good citizen of their community. And what does that mean? Do you have social skills? Do you have communication skills? Do you care about other people? Are you going not just a good student, but are you going to be a good alumna or alumnus? And will you be a part of that community for a lifetime? That's what colleges are looking at. There are many colleges and universities these days are looking at from the cradle to the grave model, meaning that they get you interested in their university at a young age. And then schools even have retirement communities built around their university. So that's what we're talking about with community.
Thank you. Thank you. So this one is in Chinese. There is a myth about both parents and PhDs that your application won't be rated as higher if you're first generation. And sounds like the colleges are looking for the underserved, more underserved than the elite, highly educated parents. Any clarification, Ms. Marino?
No, that's not true. You're not going to be discriminated against because you're educated or your parents are educated. Schools do want to have first generation students because they feel that that enhances or enriches their community. But having educated parents certainly is not. There's no checklist, right? There's no checklist where people say, oh, your parents went to college or didn't go to college, and therefore that's going to affect how we rate you. And really, they're not going to be looking at your parents so much as they're looking at you, at what you're interested in and what you have done to create your own profile.
Absolutely. Every time I tell our counselors mainly work with the students, I tell them it's the students, the kids are going to colleges are not the parents. Parent story and the grandparent story, all good, but it's the kid story that really is the most important. Okay, sounds good. So here's additional reading. Okay, so Ms. Marino, is an objective measurement in UC admissions kind of formulated way to screen and evaluate applicants?
I don't know the answer to that question. Do you know the answer to that question?
Holistic.
Yeah.
It is holistic. UC Public said it's holistic. So yeah, they think it's objective, but it's still holistic. When it comes to holistic, of course the people who are reading the essays is not just saying that if you have GPA weighted, unweighted, and you're in, or cap the GPA, whichever you see use, So hopefully I answer your questions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So can you go back to additional? Oh, we already go. Do you think there are books during hooks? I'm sorry, my eyes are bad. There are hooks during admission. If yes, what are they? Hooks? What's that? Hooks? Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that question, Anna. Yeah. Could you explain to me what you mean by a hook?
Like a certain things that got your kid in. Yeah, it's. I want to tell you, we talked to a lot of parents, and there's people always think there's some magical pill, like, oh, if you help me design this, there's no single magic pill. So if that what the parents means, there's no magic hook, because I laid very clearly there are 5 C's, and the first one is really, 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 really important. Okay, and of course the other 4 as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Okay, so here's another question. If your course and extra curriculars do not surround your majors, will that impact your college applications? Ms. Marino.
Oh no, actually, I think it makes you make sure your whole package broader. It shows you that you have intellectual interests outside of your major. So I think that it works in your benefit.
Yeah. So I listed a video, and one of the speaker actually is my son. Okay. So my younger one actually is in a UC Berkeley studying computer science, but what his extracurricular was political election for helping Andrew Yang, hydroponics, using water to do the planting to grow vegetable plants. And what else? Learning Japanese. And of course, he self-taught some machine learning or self-learning from YouTube, something like that. And out of like 3 or 4 extracurricular activities, majority of them do not align with computer science major. And he still got in. And he got into many, many other great schools like USC's, Michigan. Yeah, he got in. So that's completely fine. Okay, for your list.
Oh, I see. So Annie has clarified her question. So she's talking about with hooks, like, are there certain characteristics, like if you're a first generation student or low income? First generation or low income, I think, is interesting to admissions committees. However, being African American is exactly the thing that the Supreme Court ruled against. So yes, they could consider income, but they can no longer consider race. But again, there's no list of what's going to be better or not better, because it goes back to that holistic model of the student and what they're interested in, and you know, do they have a passion? Do they have a purpose? Do they have a path that they want to follow? Are they going to get along with other students on campus? Will they be good members of that community?
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. Yeah. So I think this all tied together. Even after affirmative action is banned, all the top schools, selective schools, will continue use holistic approach to evaluate the applicants. Okay, that has not changed. It's just like the video show, like what Ms. Marino talked about, the race, that one parameter is off the table, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I think that schools have that list that I showed you with MIT and Harvard and the other schools. They are being adamant about wanting to continue to care for diversity and continue to make that a part of their mission, even though it's not dictated by the law that they have to have a diverse student population. They want to have a diverse student population for reasons other than somebody telling them they should.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Yeah, our time is almost up. Any other questions for Ms. Marino and myself? No more? That's it?
You did miss one question there about
which one?
The Asian ratio increased in UC this year. I'm not sure that it's going to change all that much, because California did already change its standards with admissions prior to the decision this summer. But the case that was brought against North Carolina had to do specifically with white and Asian students. And so maybe it might not change so much for UC schools, but I think that Asian and white students will fare better in admission applications or acceptances at schools outside of California.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So UC has no affirmative action since 1996 or 1997, right?
It's in my history list.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I have a question. May I ask another question?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Even UC banned affirmative action, but we noticed in the last few years, the Asian ratio dropped since there's a push for race-based diversity. Even I think this time, asked one question about the UC chancellor. He mentioned that they got to continue to diversify the campus using race criteria. So that's my question is why I thought that is illegal. But when I read his announcement, that's exactly what he stated.
I will have to actually read the announcement, so I can't speak. I can't speak to that until I read exactly what he said. But what you're talking about, making decisions based on race, is exactly what this Supreme Court decision said cannot happen.
Yeah, that's my understanding, but I was a little bit really surprised by his statement. And by reading the data from the last few years, we did notice the Asian admission in the top UC school, like UCLA, UC Berkeley, have dropped significantly. And from our own school, we can see the admission has changed. It's almost cut by half.
Well, if you go back and look at that video from the Wall Street Journal that we started with, the main point there is they're saying they predict that the populations, the Hispanic and Black populations, are going to drop, but not white and Asian. So I will just have to wait and see, but I'm going to go and check this out now that you've said it, because I'm not familiar exactly what the chancellor said.
Okay, so if the Hispanic and the African community, I mean, their students got a job, that means the other students got an increase, right? Because there are only the major 4 races, right? If they got a job, the white and Asian should increase. That's my understanding.
That logic makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, then I think we would probably have to see the results. I think that is what matters.
Yeah. So if you
you.
look, you read, so boy, I assume that it's the Zoom name, right?
Yeah.
So, if you read this number very carefully, the overall, this is a San Diego public school acceptance to UC 2019 to 2022, okay? Overall, the percentage dropping, right? So it was over 30%, now it's about 10% and dropped 70%. But read carefully, they include Asian data. So Asian admission right now, overall, it's only 10%. But Asian is a little bit over 10%, 22 over 179. Should be over 10%, right? My math. But the white admission is dropped less than 10%. So to Asian, yes, overall everybody suffered, but the percentage-wise, Asian still ahead of overall. Did you see that?
Yeah, but that's the point, right? That should be merit-based admission.
Yeah,
instead of race-based. Even though we're holding our own, I mean, we're taking the percentage. Doesn't mean admission is not biased.
No. I'm just trying to explain the number. I don't think we need to spend time. I'm just telling you that the 2022 is before the affirmative action. California should not be affected that much because it's not really affected by affirmative action. But overall, for some reason, the major public school in middle upper income class, the overall percentage are dropping, okay? But within that community, it seems the white is getting affected much more. From percentage wise, the number wise, yeah, probably not, right? It's yes, you can see the data. Okay, yeah, I think we beat up to death. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I just wonder, what is the reason, I mean, for this change?
You mean the slide I showed?
Yeah, no, from the 2019 to 2022, right? Last few years.
Yes.
White and Asian, the admission ratio dropped so much.
No. The overall, that happened to that whole zip code is Asian and white, okay? The overall, those affluent zip code in 2022 got suffered for some reason, and some people even want to sue UC. I think some population got moved more as a public school. They are more evenly distributed among different public schools rather than just focusing and getting from the elite public schools. That's my explanation. Okay, it's nothing to do with affirmative action.
Yeah, so certain policy, right? Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah. It's public school. Okay, yeah. So, okay, how important is, direct to me, how important is sports student profile to college applications? Ms. Marino?
It honestly depends on the school. Yeah, if you have a school that, say, is really strong in one particular sport, if they have a hole on the swimming team or the tennis team, the wrestling team, the football team, it's going to make, a difference. Is it a private school? Is it a public school? Is it an Ivy League school? There are so many factors that play into that. But the one thing that I can tell you is that a number of schools that look at the athlete scholar model really focus on what being involved in a competitive sport teaches you as an individual. It teaches you how to cooperate. It teaches you how to be responsible, to show up, to participate, to be on time. And so personally, I feel that you can parlay your sports experience, your athletic experience of being on a team into, a powerful statement about how that team experience has shaped you as an individual. So I think that sports are very important. I'm not an athlete myself. I almost was. As a matter of fact, in my high school, I was one of the first people who started a girls track team way back in the 1970s. But there are a lot of important things that being on a team teaches you. And I think that's the important aspect of that. Again, lots of factors go into it. Are you the kind, if you are a top football player and you want to get a football scholarship, and you want to be a football player in your athletic career, then you go and you look at SEC schools or the Big 10, which I think now is the Big 14. But, again, there's no easy answer to that.
Yeah. So just to supplement what Ms. Marino said, yes, sports is important if your student plays sports, but if you don't play sports, you don't have to drag a sports on your profile. Both my kids never, they played a lot of sports, but they really never played sports. Okay, so we have students who got into USC this year. He plays soccer, and last year Berkeley and played soccer, and we have marching band got into UCLA. What it tells you, it's a team experience, like what Ms. Marino said. Also, that to demonstrate your students is competent, because sports take a lot of time, and the students can still maintain A or A+. That says a lot, right, Ms. Marino?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, good. Yeah. So, okay, one more. How about Asian students from private high schools? What does that mean? What's your question? That means has a good chance or bad chance? Right now, if you go into all colleges, there's no affirmative action, so the Asian or non-Asian, it should not be a factor, right, Ms. Marino?
I think what the question is saying has more to do with the private schools.
Okay.
And where that is a factor depends on the kind of classes you're taking, how rigorous they are, and how well you do in the classes. So by and large, private schools offer better educations than public schools. So you're starting off in a better place than somebody who's going to a public school. But that is not a truism all the time, because some public schools are really good and offer really good educations.
That's correct. That's correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of good private schools do offer very good education compared to average public schools, because average public school, a lot of teachers are just doing time management. The class is too big, and the private school, you're paying for it. So teacher-student ratio, everything, more resources. So overall, in that way, you get a better education. Okay. But sometimes
it does give you a leg up, though.
Yes,
if
it does.
You have more resources and you have a better education and you have more training and counseling and coaching, that gives you a leg up.
Definitely. Thank you, Ms. Marino. Yeah. Okay. So it's really late. I think we're done. Okay. We take one more question. Otherwise, we'll close. Close the shop. Okay. I guess no more. Ms. Marino, it's almost 9:30 your time. And one thing, just give me 1 second. And I really want to show you something before you guys leave. If you want to see here, 2 minute thing open. Okay. So we have here, here. What you're going to see, I think we put a profile for Ms. Marino. And okay, meet Ms. Marino, our Haddee counselor. She will see the students' feedback, a lot of good feedback, great reviews, and her profile. So when you get a chance, please take a look at it. And if you need help, and just reach us through the contact page, and we'll take care of you. So anyway, thank you, Ms. Marino, and thank you for your time on Saturday night.
Thank you to all of our participants for your time. You all hung in there. It's been great. Best of luck to all of you and your students on your journey.
Yeah, thank you, our Haddee parents. Yeah, Haddee parents and Haddee students. Okay, thank you, Miss Marino. Talk to you soon. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Thanks for your support. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.